Ladies and gentlemen, kindly stand for the arrival of the Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. the Honorable Keith Christopher Rowley. Please remain standing as together we sing the prayer that is our national anthem, performed on pan by Corporal Kern Somerville. Thank you, Corporal. I now call on Bishop Claude Berkeley to deliver the opening prayer.
Let us pray. Sovereign Lord and Father, the judge of all humanity, we pray for those who are called to minister justice in our communities, to clear the innocent, and to convict and punish the guilty. Give them prudence and discernment, that without fear or favor, they may justly and mercifully fulfill their duties in your sight, to the good of the nation and the glory of your name. O God, the King of righteousness, we bring to you in prayer those who bear responsibility for maintaining law and order in our land, especially judges, magistrates, and the police, that the innocent may be protected, evildoers be brought to account, the rights of all defended, and that we as a nation may enjoy the blessing of a just and free and peaceful society through Jesus Christ, our Lord. And grant your blessing on these premises, and those who will work here, and those who will be served out of this place. And we pray for and receive your divine and heavenly coverage on these proceedings. And we pray for that in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Yes, we may be seated. Dr. the Honorable Keith Christopher Rowley, Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, the Honorable Fitzgerald Hines, Minister of National Security, the Honorable Stuart R. Young, Minister of Energy and Energy Industries, and Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister, Member of Parliament for Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West, the Honorable Colm Imbert, Minister of Finance, His Worship, Alderman Joel Martinez, Mayor of the City of Port of Spain, Councillor Abina Hartley, North, Port of Spain, Commissioner MacDonald Jacob, Commissioner of Police Acting, Deputy Commissioners, Heads of Divisions, Executive Management and Officers of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. Mr. Gary Joseph, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of National Security. The Right Reverend Claude Berkeley, Bishop of Trinidad and Tobago. Mr. Noel Garcia, Chairman of UDICOT. Mr. Mika Charles Phillips, CEO, UDICOT. Management and staff of UDICOT. Mr. Gregory Aboud, President of the Downtown Owners and Merchants Association. Ms. Angela Leloy, Member of the Citizens Alliance. Members of the media. Members of the national public viewing live on TTT, UDICOT's Facebook page, and listening on I-95.5 FM. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the official opening ceremony of the St. Clair Police Station. I'm your host, Mark-Andre Augustus, and to begin our proceedings, I now call on Commissioner McDonald Jacob, Commissioner of Police, acting to deliver the opening remarks.
Morning to everyone. Dr. the Honorable Keith Christopher Rowley, Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, the Honorable Fitzgerald Hines, Minister of National Security, the Honorable Mr. Stuart Young, Minister of Energy and Energy-Based Industries, Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister, Member of Parliament for Port of Spain North and St. Anne's West, the Honorable Mr. Colin Imbert, Minister of Finance, His Worship the Mayor, Mr. Joel Martinez, Ms. Abina Hartley, Councillor for North Port of Spain and the Port of Spain in the Port of Spain City, Mr. Noel Garcia, Chairman of the Boards of Directors of UDICOT, senior police officers present, the newly minted Vice President of the Police and Social and Welfare Association, Inspector Pitt, all other guest permanent secretaries present here today. Our very presence here today speaks to the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service 2022-2024 theme of reaffirming our resilience, shared purpose, and value in an era of exponential change. Over the past few years, as an organization, and more so as a police station housed, this is the St. Clair Police Station, housed in a diplomatic epicenter of our country, we have been challenged by many hurdles to ensure that our most valued assets to law and order, our police officers, our frontline staff, are given the necessary and appropriate tools of trade and afford a work environment which is conducive to productivity and professionalism. Conversely, we have recognized that far too often there are unfortunate moments where we tend to overlook the human resource needs of our staff, and it is incumbent upon us as leaders to bridge the gap between our valued internal and external stakeholders so that we can live up to our core values of professionalism, respect, integrity, dignity, and excellence. However, to achieve this, it was necessary for us to focus on occupational health and wellness of our staff, which have been mapped in our pillars as our fifth pillar in our strategic plan in 2022 to 2024, a blueprint for us at the TTPS to navigate these unprecedented, and I will dare say, challenging times. Though transformation does not necessarily come from the improvements of the physical infrastructure of an organization, but more so one's attitude and mindset. It is an integral factor in reshaping the way in which police officers view themselves and how they perceive their leaders. In keeping with the demands for improved operational excellence and service to the community, this location accommodates a suite of services such as the Victim Support Unit, the Special Victims Department, which incorporates the Sexual Offenses Unit, the Gender-Based Unit, and the Child Protection Unit. Ultimately, the station was specifically and internally remodeled to cater to the needs of the police officers and its clients to provide the best service for the Special Victims Department cases with amenities conducive for a safe and comfortable environment for interventions, interviews, and investigations. Minors will have access to the Juvenile Booking Center with the Juvenile Holding Suites, an ID parade room, interview room, and a child-friendly space for informal interaction. Meanwhile, victims of the gender-based violence and our sexual offenses will find comfort in the Victim and Recovery Room. Their functions are separately zoned from the operations of the actual police station, which involves the intelligence unit and the normal operations of a station. The St. Clair Police Station will be held and managed by the newly minted WPC Inspector Rennie Bain Keller, who was recently in charge of the Belmont Police Station. So she's expected, Ms. Keller, to maintain the high standard and innovativeness she exhibited at the Belmont Police Station. She is supervised by Senior Superintendent Brandon John and other senior officers. In addition, we have present here today with us the head of the Victim and Witness Support and the Social Work Unit, Ms. Corby, you are here. Thanks. Ms. Shirlene Pollard, manager of the Gender-Based Unit. Well, Ms. Claire Guy Allen, that most persons will know well, is not here with us today. And her supervisor, Ms. Sharon Cooper, who is in fact the Assistant Commissioner acting in charge of the Criminal Division. It's good to know that they are presently preparing for a visit to Jamaica to deal with and participate in a regional program for gender-based violence. It is based on region knowledge of sharing between all various Caribbean countries as it relates to the positive approaches to deal with gender violence. Emergency situations such as natural disasters were also considered at the building, as the building is supplied with a standby generator and on-site water storage for the building and for fire suppression. We have addressed the parking situation. In fact, there are parking accommodation for 40 vehicles. Moreover, for 2022 thus far, St. Clair Police Station supported community work and public safety by donating monies to assist students in the Bossier RC School for examination supplies, assisted a family with donations after the house was gutted with fire, which claimed the lives of 3 children, participated with several stakeholders in hikes and plantry initiatives at the Lady Chancellor and St. Anne's and restore the beauty of our environment. The station, by way of its police youth club, continue with its proactive measures to crime and different crime prevention ventures, such as its ongoing homework center, which is geared to assist young persons who need supervision. The club also conducts diabetic eye screening, outreach programs, clothing drives for the residents. As the physical conditions are now significantly improved, we can only imagine what more greatness you officers will be able to provide for the 155,000 citizens in this police district. As Acting Commissioner of Police, I am certain that with these efforts and improved conditions, there will be some high level of continuity with our partnership and outreach. The officers of the St. Clair Police Station will meet and surpass the target of 10% reduction in serious crimes. To my officers, the frontline heroes, this is your home, your new quarters, where you can make the change the society so needs and is dependent upon you. Take care of this facility. But more important, take care of yourselves, each other, and this great community. Again, thank you all as we witness the opening of this important facility. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Jacob. Ladies and gentlemen, kindly welcome to the podium the Honorable Stuart R. Young, Minister of Energy and Energy Industries, Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister, and Member of Parliament for Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West, to bring us his remarks.
That's for you, sir.
Thank you. Good morning and welcome to St. Clair. Dr. the Honorable Keith Christopher Rowley, Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago and also Chairman of the National Security Council, my cabinet colleagues, Minister Fitzgerald Hines, Minister of National Security, Minister Colum Imbert, Minister of Finance, Your Worship, the Mayor of Port of Spain, Alderman Joel Martinez, Councillor Bina Hartley, Acting Commissioner of Police, Mr. McDonald Jacob, all of your police officers who are present, a special hail out for Inspector Bain Keller, who has followed from Belmont to St. Clair, Permanent Secretary Mr. Gary Joseph, Chairman of UDICOT Mr. Noel Garcia, all UDICOT employees, all specially invited guests, members of the media. It is a great pleasure and an honor to bring greetings as a Member of Parliament for Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West this morning in a really short interlude. I sat here and I was reflecting on my history with St. Clair. And it would have started at a very young age, a stone's throw from here at the Queen's Park Oval, and watching many, many hours of, in those days, Test cricket for 5 days, my father leaving me in the stands as I looked at the cricket for 5-day periods when a test lasted 5 days, and later on playing cricket at the Queen's Park Oval. To the back of us, then in secondary school, swimming and sporting activities on Serpentine Road, the same road as this police station at St. Mary's Sports Grounds, a stone's throw from here. Afterwards, I lived not too far from here, just around the corner, for a number of years. I have seen the many iterations of police stations over that period of time that service St. Clair. So as a Member of Parliament for Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West, I would like to thank the Honourable Prime Minister, my cabinet colleagues, for the support in producing what we can see here today tangibly one of the best police stations in Trinidad and Tobago. And as a Member of Parliament, I thank you, Dr. Rowley, and my cabinet colleagues, and all others, UDCOT, for making this possible here today. As the Acting Commissioner of Police said a short while ago, St. Clair is indeed a unique catchment area, capturing a lot of the diplomatic corps, other members of society of varying needs, as Abina will tell us, from the Newtown area, come across towards the north, and all of these areas. So Inspector Bean Keller, I am very pleased that you are here, taking over the command of this police station, and understand how important it is for us, the people of Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West, but also the rest of Trinidad and Tobago. The first police station for St. Clair that I know of was opposite Cape Hawk. That was, then a decision was taken to demolish it, to build a new one. We moved to temporary quarters on this site to a building, and I was reflecting and reminiscing the last time I would have visited that police station, way before I got involved in this life of being an elected Member of Parliament, was actually an emergency call from my mother many moons ago. She had gotten into an accident, and I had to visit the St. Clair police station with her to just make sure everything went smoothly. And the service that she got on that day, I want to ask that the police service continue with that. It was very, very professional. It was a young woman constable, police constable, and my mother, who was traumatized, she comforted her, filled out the form, and did everything. And that is the type of police service that Trinidad and Tobago needs at that level of service interaction. So, Acting Commissioner, fellow police officers, please continue that level of professionalism. You have gotten a wonderful building with excellent facilities. I remember touring it not too long ago as it was in the construction phase. I look forward to the tour at the end. And I'd just like to say, as a Member of Parliament, thank you to the government for this investment, and to ask the police service to please make use of this asset that the people of Trinidad and Tobago have given you. And one of the purposes of my opening is just to let you all know how central this will be when they're sporting and other events at the Oval, Nelson Mandela Park, the school children in a number of sporting grounds here. All of these things coming together in addition to the day-to-day lives of residents and those whom you all service. Thank you for the opportunity to say a few words. I look forward to hearing great things about the St. Clair Police Station and the continued professionalism of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Young. I now call to the podium the Honorable Fitzgerald Hines, Minister of National Security, to bring us his remarks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Master of Ceremonies, for your introduction. Dr. the Honorable Keith Rowley, Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, my parliamentary cabinet colleagues, Minister of Energy and Energy Industries, Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister, Member of Parliament for this constituency, Mr. Stuart Young, and of course, our Minister of Finance, the Honorable Colman Burt, Member of Parliament, Diego Martin Northeast, who as Minister of Finance would have played a role in all of the development across this land. The first citizen of the Republic, of the city of Port of Spain, the Mayor of the city of Port of Spain, His Worship Alderman Joel Martinez, Councillor from North Port of Spain, Madame Abina Hartley, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of National Security, Mr. Gary Joseph, Commissioner of Police, Acting Mr. MacDonald Jacob,
who addressed us a moment ago, leading the police service, other executive members of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, and all of the officers, particularly those who would be serving at this establishment, the latest acquisition to the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. Mr. Noel Garcia, chairman of UDCOT, and all of the members of the Board of Management and the management and staff of UDCOT, including, and of course, outstanding Chief Executive Officer, Madam Tamika Charles Phillip, other specially invited guests, members of the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, not the least, and I recognize he who brought a very heartwarming and mind-attuning invocation to us this morning, Anglican Bishop of Trinidad and Tobago, the Right Reverend Claude Berkeley. Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'm indeed pleased to be here at this official launch of this newly built Sinclair Police Station. It is, as you would have heard before, intended to serve the community at Sinclair and its environs, all of the visitors to the sporting and schooling facilities, the Queen's Park Savannah behind us, all of the residents, all of the businesses, and of course it hosts a significant subset of the diplomatic corps in terms of their office operations, and of course residences. This station is, for those reasons, very strategically located, and I have been told that by the police commissioner that it is intended to support the network of stations in the Port of Spain Division and other elements of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, and support their need in this time of burgeoning crime and criminality, which we continue to grapple forcefully and professionally with. In this time of home invasions in this community and many others, a recent one being solved and resolved as far away as in my constituency, the community of Morvan. In a time of some social upheaval, as we witnessed last week, which to the commendation of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service and the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force, both acted in swift and coordinated effort to put an end to it, which must always happen in cases like this. Because as we said, while we understand the right to express emotions and frustrations and protestations in this democratic society, does not include breaking the law, committing acts of arson, throwing missiles at the police, endangering members of the public, and disturbing the entire society from going about its lawful business as we struggle after COVID to rebuild the social and most of all the economic platform that sustains Trinidad and Tobago. Prime Minister, I say publicly, fortuitously, we now have a very, very clear picture of what happened in those events, who was paid which money, and by whom, and how much. We have a good picture of the who, the whys, and the wheres. And the police service, as so advised, will continue to keep a good look on this and other such developments, all in the interests of the safety and the protection of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Prime Minister, you are many things: scientist, geologist, an outstanding leader, politician of tremendous experience, but you are no engineer, sir. And recently, I attended an awards ceremony for the Institute of Fire Engineers, along with the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service. And at that gathering, it was expressed their motto, which is as follows: follow the rules, finish what you started, and follow up. 3 F's, as they call them. This purpose-built station, Prime Minister, is intended to serve, as we said, the people of Sinclair and environs, and to permit the police to be very present and very accessible as the needs of the community would so demand. As Mr. Jacob explained, it houses the Special Victims Unit, including facilities for juvenile offenders, gender-based violence, and sexual offenses, and the management of those in the society. This building could have been declared open before today, but the original design was markedly different, and we had to pause, Prime Minister, to redesign it to accommodate the vision of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service in accordance with the policy of the government through the Ministry and the Minister of National Security. Prime Minister, I want to thank you. As I said, you are no engineer, but we have seen, Prime Minister, that under your watch, under your strong leadership, we have seen the development of other police stations of this ilk at St. Joseph not so long ago. And I, as Minister of National Security, joined you recently at the launch of the Carenage Police Station last week at a fish fry complex down in Carenage. We have all witnessed, we have all watched the redevelopment of President's House, Stolmeyer's Castle as we knew it, the Red House, our Parliament building, Mille Fleurs, the Arima Hospital, and we know that the Sangre Grande Hospital is right around the bend for us. All done by UDCOT, all under your astute leadership, all in a time of severe economic strictures. It is clear to me that though no engineer, you follow the motto of those folks. You follow the rules. You finish what you started, and you follow up. This station will provide support, as I said, to other elements of the police service in a time when we most need it. So I would like to thank the Commissioner. I would like to thank all of the police service for its work, as I give the assurance that as Minister of National Security, speaking on behalf of the Cabinet and the government, we will continue to provide all of the resources that you need in order to carry out your very professional and much needed functions. I thank UDCOT for its engagement in the development under the direction of the government. I look forward to this station contributing to the improvement in response times to those who need it, whether in the context of an attack on the play park, a robbery someplace, or indeed a home invasion, as you did very recently, solving it within a matter of a day or two. Thank you very much, Prime Minister. Thank you very much, UDCOT. And I, as Minister of National Security, will ensure that the government's policy is closely adhered to, which involves most of all the protection and the safety and the well-being of all of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. I thank you. God bless and great luck.
Yes, thank you, Minister Hines. Ladies and gentlemen, providing this morning's entertainment is vocalist, woman police constable, Miss Nikita Nurse. Her number, I Know Where I've Been.
There's a light in the darkness, though the night is black as my skin. There's a light burning bright, showing me the way. But I know where I've been. There's a cry in the distance. It's a voice that comes from deep within. There's a cry asking why. I pray the answer's up ahead. Yeah, 'cause I know where I've been. There's a road we've been traveling, lost so many on the way, but the riches will be plenty, worth the price we had to pay. There's a dream in the future. There's a struggle that we have yet to win. And there's pride in my heart, 'cause I know where I'm going. Yes, I do, 'cause I know where I've been. There's a road that we must travel. There is a promise that we must make. Oh, but the riches would be plenty, yeah. Worth the risk and the chances we've taken. There's a dream, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. In the future, there's a struggle that we have yet to win. Use that pride in our heart to lift us up until tomorrow. 'Cause just to sit still would be a sin. Lord knows that I know where I've been. Know where I've been.
Thank you so much, Constable Nurse. Thank you, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, kindly welcome to the podium the Honorable Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. Keith Rowley, to deliver the feature address.
Thank you very much, Nigel. And may I at this point thank the officer for that inspirational rendition. It's moments like these that our souls can soar. But it's not my intention to assume the role and responsibility of our leader. But permit me to acknowledge first and foremost the presence of the Bishop of Trinidad and Tobago, Bishop Claude Berkeley, and of course, the first citizen of the city of Port of Spain in which this facility is located. I would also like to take the opportunity to acknowledge my cabinet colleagues, Member of Parliament for Port of Spain North, Minister Stuart Young, the Minister of National Security with responsibility for the security services of Trinidad and Tobago, which includes the police service, and that is Minister Fitzgerald Hines, and of course the officer in the cabinet who is responsible for ensuring that the resources are made available to all departments to conduct their work with respect to the allocations of the Parliament, and that is the Minister of Finance, Mr. Colin Imbert, Minister Colin Imbert. And ladies and gentlemen, I also would like to pay special acknowledgement to the leader of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, Commissioner MacDonald Jacob, his deputy commissioners and all heads of department, the permanent secretary, the Ministry of National Security, Mr. Gary Joseph, the chairman and the UDICOT team led by Mr. Noel Garcia, and the CEO, Mrs. Tamika Charles Phillip, and present with us this morning for this very special occasion, Mr. Gregory Aboud, President of the Downtown Owners and Merchants Association, along with Ms. Angela Leloy, Member of Citizens Alliance, members of the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and all those who are following us, fellow citizens on your various platforms outside of this venue. I want to thank you all for accepting the invitation to join us to speak of and about ourselves in times like these. These are difficult times. These are treacherous times. These are different times. And it is our realization of the nature of these times, the nature of our responsibilities, and of course, the possibilities of extracting success from possible failure that would mark us as a different group of people in Trinidad and Tobago. Ladies and gentlemen, it is easy to criticize because criticism usually does not require any confirmation. It is easy to disregard, especially when one is not carrying any responsibility, particularly for the things that you make. But for those of us who have the responsibility of delivering to the public in one way or another, we have always to be mindful of the fact that there are people to be satisfied and a nation to defend. This morning, among the envelopes I opened was one which contained my salary statement. And at that moment, I looked at the numbers and I said, this is where my claim lies. But every single day, as Prime Minister, I'm involved in making decisions on expenditure in Trinidad and Tobago. And very many people ascribe that responsibility to me as an individual. And it's the Prime Minister this, and the Prime Minister that, and the Prime Minister. But of course, you know, except for what is in that envelope that I opened this morning that says salary, nothing else is mine. Everything else is yours. Every dollar that I authorize to be spent, it's really you who are doing that through the office that I hold. And that is why when I reflect on what we have to do and what we have been doing with respect to national security, I trust that those who assess the security services, in doing so, would also assess the time and the circumstances in which we live. Not too long ago, I was a student in the United Kingdom, in England. And as much as I could rack my mind and my memory, I can't recall ever seeing an armed police officer. I saw lots of police officers from North England, Central England, in London. But during that time, I can't recall ever seeing a police officer displaying a firearm in the United Kingdom. And then I come home to Trinidad and Tobago in that era, and I could only remember most officers being armed with a baton because it was deemed sufficient to carry a baton to respond to citizenry that may require some element of force. Ladies and gentlemen, these are facts. There was a time in this country when a baton was deemed and authorized to be the weapon of choice for the average police officer on the beat. And the average United Kingdom officer went unarmed. And as a matter of fact, at one time it required some intervention of Parliament to determine that officers could carry on special assignments certain firearms and so among the public. How have times changed? Many of you listening to me today or present in this small audience today might have the worry of being a member of a family who is a police officer, man or woman in Trinidad and Tobago today. And if you are, and you have not been reflecting on the fact that every day or night that they go out to work in 2022, that their life is in danger. These are the facts. British officers now walk the street carrying automatic weapons in full public view. And Trinidad and Tobago police officers, I can't tell the last day I saw a baton. The reason for that is because the populations that are being policed around the world today are a different group of people and react in a different way, and over time the evolution of policing has brought us to a point where today virtually every officer who comes out on the street is carrying or is demanding a firearm. We also have non-police officers on a regular basis demanding firearms from the state to protect their lives as they carry out their non-police duty. But as part of the security services, the situations are such that these demands are deemed to be reasonable and urgent. Now, that being so, if it is that we've moved from baton to revolvers to pistols to assault weapons, there's a grave danger that from time to time, because of the nature of this situation, that we are going to have tragedies that we can ill afford. And therefore, I want to ask the population of parents, friends, Romans, and countrymen to understand that there are liabilities, there are possibilities, and there is pain and suffering, all wrapped up in the same bundle. None of us are better off when we receive the news that X or Y, A or B, for whatever reason, have fallen to a weapon used by an officer of state against citizens of our republic. But there are times when the questions will arise as to whether that circumstance could have been avoided. And the answer is always yes. Is it that the training could have been better? The answer is yes. Is it that in most instances a decision could have been not to use the firearm? The answer is yes. Is it that the parenting was effective and useful, that the victim may not have been in that situation of confrontation? The answer is yes. Is it that the victim, whoever he or she might have been, could have taken the decision not to engage the police with a firearm? The answer is yes. But all of these are possibilities. And at the end of the day, it is not on every occasion that we as a people come out unscathed. Very frequently, we come out hurt. Ladies and gentlemen, national security and the dispensing of justice in a society is a broad fabric of many colors and many threads. We in Trinidad and Tobago today, this time in our history, are grappling with the need, the urgent need for improved safety and security, largely because our population has within it elements which threaten our safety and security on a regular basis. I simply want to ask the leadership of the police service, in all of this complexity, to make sure that you in your corner are not guilty of not providing your components, which are temperance, training, good order, and accountability for the responsibility that you carry, with the title that you carry, with the ranks that you carry, and the uniform that you carry. Just make sure that you are not guilty of falling short of your human capacity. Because even if you are doing the best that is possible, there are other components that will bring us to a place from time to time where sadness is our portion. I want to ask parents who know that your progeny is at risk because you know what they're doing, and many of you know that the outcome could be great harm. Do not be guilty of having not done what you could have done. Even if it is a conversation with your son or your daughter, to tell them that what you are engaged in is not only unlawful, but it risks all of us in the family, in the community and the nation. I implore you to take that responsibility. I implore young men and women in this country to see your time as valuable and to use it wisely. If someone comes from Mars or somewhere out there, land in Trinidad and Tobago, can read English and read our news, having the intelligence to have come from so far, I assume that they will come to the conclusion that one of the activities that they should not engage in is liming. Because they would have read so often or heard so frequently that X and Y was liming, A and B was liming, and usually it appears as though liming ends up with people getting in trouble or being killed. This is not to say that relaxation is to be frowned upon. This is to say that there's so much more that one could do with one's time, especially to improve one's self, that I implore you to spend more time trying to do something useful than just generally spending time, sometimes among people who will encourage you to do wrong, to break the law, and to believe that there is strength in the numbers of lawbreakers. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a fact that there are many of our society members who believe that they can prevail above the provisions of the law. Question is, what does the law enforcement officer do when confronted with that situation? To walk away is to be condemned by all of you, by all of us. To be ineffective in the approach is to be deemed to be unprepared. But to overreact is also unacceptable. And that is the thin line that Officer Jacob and his charges are required to walk on a 24-hour basis, 7 days a week, 12 months a year, every year of our lives. The government has done its part and continues to do its part. And there's always more to be done. Under this administration, which I have led for almost 7 years, I think next month, in a couple of months, it will be 7 years. 1 month? Approximately 7 years. I have been responsible for leading the cabinet of Trinidad and Tobago. And these issues from day one have been among the priority of the government of Trinidad and Tobago. We have intervened in very many areas so that those interventions could provide us with the success that we hanker after: safety and security and the dispensing of justice. We have expended hundreds of millions of dollars in that short period of time in improving the accommodation for police officers. I have had the opportunity as Prime Minister to open new police stations in Maracas and Joseph, in St. Joseph, in Besson Street, in Roxborough, in Shervan, in Carenage. These are major expenditure items meant to provide police in these various districts with the accommodation that is required to allow them to perform at their best. We have also spent or received significant components of equipment. In one go, we got 250 motorbikes from China to improve the patrolling of our streets. We've spent hundreds of millions of dollars on motor vehicles. In fact, in front of me right now is the very latest installment of millions of dollars for more vehicles. We have increased the number of judges. We have converted significant public space to increase the number of courts in the country so as to allow the Hall of Justice to focus more on the criminal side of justice, because we are moving the whole civil platform out of the Hall of Justice into the waterfront towers, where we spent significant tens of millions of dollars to prepare. We have expended time and money in training, both home and abroad. And we have spent significant hundreds of millions of dollars on specialized equipment to allow our security officers, police and others, to be able, first to observe, secondly to understand, and thirdly to react to information in our national community with respect to this whole question of providing safety and security to the population. We have not been sitting on our hands. I'm sure if we take the time to add up all of these dollars, it would be a significant component of the national resource base. And after all of that, ladies and gentlemen, after all of that, we still have the question of when do we become secure? How safe are we? And a lot of it has to do with the approach to citizenship. There are many citizens who do not take responsibility for anything other than themselves and their personal needs. And if that is so, we end up with situations where there are people who have no regard for the effect and the outcome of their own conduct. Ladies and gentlemen, violence in this society is a public health issue, and we need to address it at source. I am a member of parliament. I have a constituency. Every so often, I go to the primary schools in this country, and I interact with primary school children. And I could tell you that interaction tells me that our children at that age, they're largely angels. Every single one of them, look at them in the face, and they come across to you as, you want to defend them, you want to make sure they have a future, you want to make sure you do right by them. They're all less than 12 years old. By the time they get to age 15, there's a pattern of behavior in the secondary schools that gets more and more unacceptable. I don't want to go into the costs of the secondary schools, because they used to be $10 million a piece. They're now $240 million a piece. But by the same token, a teacher, in my time as a teacher, salary was $225 a month. Now they get considerably more than that. But the bottom line is, by age 15, we have a cohort of the population that is beginning to demonstrate a penchant for violence that is unacceptable. By the time they get to age 17 and they come out of the school, they're no longer under the school disciplinary umbrella. They're now out there in the society, some of them working, some of them liming, some of them training to handle firearms. And a whole wave of violence is unleashed. And you ask yourself, what would have happened between the primary school angels and the demons that the police is confronting from time to time? What would have happened? And I want to say to my fellow citizens today that something is happening inside there that needs to be found, needs to be addressed. Otherwise, this cycle will only get further and further away from us, and it will only get worse. And I could tell you too, I'm not an expert in this matter. I'm open to advice, but I'm not entirely without a few brain cells. So I can come to a conclusion now before I'm advised. that a significant portion of the difficulty in this country is poor parenting. Poor parenting. And if you are a parent in this country, or you're a guardian, and you're responsible for young people, I want you today, if you've heard what I've said, to quietly reflect on whether you really think that you are discharging your responsibility to your neighborhood, to your family, to the nation, as you parent that boy or girl. I want to ask you to do that in private. And if the answer is no, you're not doing what you should be doing, I'm asking you today to assume that responsibility. The government is going to direct more resources to this issue at this time because it is required. Something is happening between our 9 and 10-year-olds and our 17-year-olds that is causing our society to be what it is. And I want to say to the police, all officers, and all those who observe, we will not be able to jail ourselves out of this, or shoot ourselves out of this, or kill ourselves out of this. Because those are not actions that are for correction or for guidance. That is when you come to the end of the line. I would wish that no police officer should ever see the occasion, even though they carry a firearm, they should never see the occasion to pull the trigger. But by the same token, if the people you are confronting also have the option to pull the trigger and are prepared to pull it, how many Westerns have you seen? There are no prizes for second place. Ladies and gentlemen, these are serious issues, and it's not sufficient to come with emotion every 2 months or every 3 weeks and wail and whimper about what has happened to who is now a named person, who before was an unnamed, unknown citizen loved by all of us. We need to get to the root of this problem, and the same way the government has directed public resources to increasing the number of judges, increasing the number of courts, increasing the number of police officers, and all that expenditure, we must now direct resources to finding what is going on in this vacuum between the 10-year-olds and the 17-year-olds and set about to produce a better citizen in Trinidad and Tobago. Because if we don't do that, McDonald Jacob will retire eventually. John Jones will become the commissioner. Mary Tom will become the deputy commissioner, and this is going to go on and on and on, and we're going to be on this merry-go-round until we lose our balance and spin off in pain and destruction. We have to address this issue where the problem lies. It starts with our schools. It starts with an appreciation for respecting other people's space and other people's rights. It starts with assuming a responsibility for your own behavior and not making excuses for people whose behavior is destructive. And that applies to people in the police service too. Because I've said over and over to the Coast Guard, to the Defense Force, and to the police service, if there are people who have found themselves into the ranks of the uniformed officers and they are not measuring up to the standard that is set, that is expected by the population, get them out. Because if you don't get them out, it is quite possible that they will end up as commissioner of police. You know that. These are duties that require an extra concern on the part of the citizen that wears this uniform and carries this firearm. An extra bit of responsibility, knowing that you do it on behalf of others, and that the law that authorizes you expects that you will be an extraordinarily careful, so that when issues arise, you can have the trust of the population that the circumstances must have warranted it. Today, that trust is not there. You have to build it. It will not be built if the population is of the view that there are people in the police service who should not be there because they are dishonest, they are lazy, they are unthoughtful, and all they will do is just enjoy the salary, enjoy the rank, and possibly abuse it. These are complexities. And the leaders in the police service, they have an extra duty to try to deal with this. There was a time when the Commissioner of Police in Trinidad and Tobago did not have that problem. But look at this station today. This station, on the notice board outside, the label outside, you see Child Protection Unit. There was a time when that was not a component of policing in this country. Child protection was for the mother and father. Now police have to go and protect children from mother and father. Gender-based violence. I grew up in a primary school that every one of us knew that if you raise your hand at a girl, you account for that first, for having done that. And then after they'll try to find out what caused you to have done that. That's how you're trained. And of course, the girls took that, took advantage of that. And of course, there's a sexual offenses unit in today's world. Sexual offenses, human trafficking, which is modern day slavery. Par for the course. These are components of policing that didn't exist before. Today, there are everyday claims, everyday requirements requiring today's officer to be a different kind of officer. And that is why the in-service training, not just the training you got in the barracks. If you rely only on the training you got in the barracks, you'll end up like Mr. Hines as a minister of government. But it's not the minister of government who is required out there on the street to interact with the public in these areas of concern. Our WPCs are called upon to do things that others 20 or 30 years ago were not called upon to do. I say all of this to let the population understand that what I'm saying is that our society has become more complex. It has evolved not for the better in every area. And if we have not changed to suit it, it will overcome us. I think I would have demonstrated that spending appropriate sums of money does not solve the problem. I have to apologize for some of my parliamentary colleagues. They don't help. Talking stupidness is a part of the parliamentary duty, apparently. We do all kinds of things. All of what I just said is towards helping us get safety and security. And then you hear, oh, the government is wrong. The government cannot say that the bail bill is going to put an end to crime. Now, whoever said that? Whoever said that? I know of no person who has said that if we get those provisions of bail restriction, it will put an end to crime. We said it will contribute. And everything we do is expected to contribute because we know what the objective is. Going to court and have your matter dealt with, concluded in a reasonable time, that will contribute. An officer who interacts properly with a citizen in the street, that will contribute. A person who, rather than be on remand yard, is outside with a bracelet that will contribute. So it's a series of threads that are required to be woven if we are to get the fabric of safety and security. And having said that, many of you know you wear socks. Pull a thread in your socks and burst it and see what a hole will develop in it. One thread in the sock. You burst that thread, and it doesn't align, it's a huge hole, because that thread was holding up a lot of other threads. And that is what policing is about. Today I want to thank all the officers who get up night and day, rain or shine, especially those officers who confront firearms in Trinidad and Tobago. We have your back. And I want to appeal to those who have decided that the way they will live amongst us is to obtain firearms. Because once you have obtained it, there's a very good chance that you will use it. And it is when it is used, we have to determine whether the use was proper. It could never be proper if the firearm is illegal. And I do not believe that our society becoming awash with firearms, illegal or even legal, is a better place than when there was no need for firearms in our community and on the hips of our officers. Continue to do the job. Continue to expect the citizenry to rely on you, and continue to get better as the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, providing us with the safety and security that we deserve. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Prime Minister. Ms. Abina Hartley, Councillor for North Port of Spain, will now deliver a vote of thanks.
Good morning. Dr. the Honorable Keith Christopher Rowley, Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. The Honorable Fitzgerald Hines, Minister of National Security. The Honorable Stuart Young, Minister of Energy and Energy Industries, and Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister, Member of Parliament for Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West. The Honorable Com Imber, Minister of Finance. His Worship Alderman Joel Martinez, Mayor of the City of Port of Spain. Commissioner of Police Acting, Mr. MacDonald Jacob. Deputy Commissioners, Heads of Divisions, Executive Management, and Officers of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. Mr. Gary Joseph, Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of National Security. Mr. Noel Garcia, Chairman of UDICOT and your team. The Right Reverend Claude Berkeley, Bishop of Trinidad and Tobago, specially invited guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. The eagerly awaited Sinclair Police Station that has been long coming is here. And it is a great pleasure in me accepting the assignment this morning to deliver expressions of thanks. In doing so, I recalled a project my standard 2 nephew had to complete a couple months ago, where he was tasked with creating a 3D community, and important buildings had to be included in this project. And of course, one such building was that of a police station. And so, with that, needless to say, I now need to bring him here to see his 3D project come to life in the form of this state-of-the-art station. And so, Prime Minister, it is on that premise that I stand here looking at your parliamentary and cabinet colleagues to firstly say thank you for having a plan. A plan that promotes urban development, executed through UDICOT, who has been associated with the successful delivery of projects in all sectors and has stimulated national development by transforming our urban landscapes via a sustainable approach. Thank you. Secondly, a plan that acknowledges that it is the quality and effectiveness of the police service that will give us the results and response to the violent crimes that we are experiencing. Said plan being implemented by, or through you, Minister of National Security and your team. Thank you. To the hardworking and dedicated Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, we are grateful that targeted efforts are being made to consistently transform the service and its spaces into a modern, citizen-centered service that is built for purpose and serves all of its users. As citizens, we lean on and hold on to your vision to make every space in Trinidad and Tobago safe. Thank you. Permit me to also acknowledge all those that contributed to the completion of this beautiful station. And for today's execution of the proceedings, I say a very, very special thank you. And in the words of our Prime Minister, as he opened the Carenage police station, he indicated, or you indicated, that such facilities of these natures is not only to serve as a police station, but also as a community service center. And so as councillor for this district and also a social worker by profession, who interfaces with the officers of this catchment area, I am especially pleased to have this state-of-the-art facility, especially with these focused, targeted units, especially as we have the Children's Court just a stone's throw away on Elizabeth Street. This station truly embodies the ongoing exercise of revitalizing the city of Port of Spain, which is a collective goal that I believe that we are on our way to achieving. With that said, I thank you, and please do enjoy the rest of these proceedings.
Thank you, Councillor Hartley. Ladies and gentlemen, this part of our ceremony brings us to the cutting of the ribbon, after which the Prime Minister and an entourage will unveil the commemorative stone. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service Steel Orchestra will provide accompaniment, conducted by Sergeant Alistair Urquhart. safely. I'm your host, Mark Andre Augustus. Thank you.